again on the farm, going back to the old prospect. Gotta have to come up with a name for this place since we're gonna be mining it soon. Gonna find more of that material. That's the old spring bed there. I'm gonna clear that out and show you what that's about. And I'm also gonna bush hog all this field down because I want to turn this into an orchard, a vineyard on the left and an orchard on the right. Right before you get to the black cherry orchard I've been building back here. I'll do a video on my channel, The Bonsai Blacksmith, about this black cherry orchard. I gotta clear that out, thin that out, and plant some more trees. All right, let's go up to the prospect and I'll meet you there. All right, we have landed at the parking spot where I had cleared out the trail earlier in the previous episode. So I'm gonna grab my bag and let's get started. So, welcome to another episode of Maine Forges and Mines. We're walking up the old path to the private prospect on my family farm here. That's what the path looks like. So it's a beautiful day, nice and dry. It's supposed to start raining tomorrow, so I wanted to get out here one more time this week before this turned into a mud hole, which you can do. You can see that's already got moose prints in there, actually. Yeah, we got moose in these woods. Hopefully we catch one on video. I mean, it's the only thing bigger in these woods than me is the moose. I'm basically the largest thing in here. Yeah, not to be proud of that, you know, 6'5" helps. So a little bit up this path and we'll make a detour on the mine trail. So I was looking down on the ground here, and this piece of granite is starting to get very large size grain. Here, see if you can zoom up on that. See, the grain size is much larger in the float here, which means this area of float is, they're down ice. So up ice is this way, down ice is this way. Considering that's rounded, that means it's probably traveled a good mile from that direction. So I decided to blaze a somewhat quicker path to the new mine, and I came across this piece of phyllite, also known as it's a fine grained metasediment, basically like slate or phyllite. This is what's left of the hilltop over here. The glacier pushed it down. What I'm finding strange is that some of this rock here is on top of the larger grained boulders, which makes me think the two glaciations moved a lot of rock on this hill. Interesting enough. See, this is different looking stuff here. See that? That's much different than what we're looking at over here. See that? See all that? Yeah. Let's keep going. So I've been trudging down this path here. I'm almost done cutting the new path. And I found this piece of bedrock. I had to move this tree as I was blazing through here. And I found this piece of quartz bearing rock, host rock. Get a closer up view. I wish we had some more sun out here in the woods, but you can see that's been mineralized, even though there's moss all over it. Heavily mineralized piece of quartz at the boundary there. So it's very fine grained quartz too. If I had it's good microcrystalline quartz. Here it is in the sun. Let's give you a better idea what the mineralization on this looks like. Iron, you get the reddish browns, got some sparklies in there. I can assume those are sulfides, not actual gold. Although gold could be present on a microscopic level, I'm not assuming that's there. I'm looking for the gemstones in this run. But this here could be a chalcedony pocket. This almost looks like a calcite. See, everything here is like a pseudomorph within a pseudomorph, and I'll show you why here with another mineral specimen I picked up in the last episode. All right, so I've blazed up through here. I found some dirty quartz. I'm on the northwest side of that quartz-bearing knoll, or Inselberg. We're going to make our way up this way now without falling over these boulders, which is very easy to do. A boulder field here. So that's uphill going into the woods. So we're going to go uphill. We're going to blaze some more path, it looks like. So I came across this type of bedrock again, this phyllite, this meta sediment. I'm not sure what we got going on here. Of course, none of my tools are handy. Hold on, here we go. Let's get the scraper out here and see what we can come up with. See what's actually going on here. Doesn't look like that's that exciting of a piece of rock, but no, it's in there. That's either incredibly heavy or bedrock here. See, it's not moving. I'm trying to pry it. Oh, wait. There's movement. That's a big rock. Let's see here. Pardon this hand. This hand's taking some damage. Yeah, that's very schisty. That's very schisty. Iron stained to hell. That's bedrock there, I believe. But that's like a phyllite, a slate. Very interesting. If you look on the back side here, it's more mineralized. And there's even, like, I would say almost like a feldspar intrusion. It's kind of too white to be quartz. It's like a very dull matte white. Here's a close-up of what I found here at the top of the hill. Right at my feet right here. There's the steepest downgrade angle. There's another piece of dirty quartz right there. And I'm in line with the other quartzes on my map, my points over there for the other quartz veins. This could just be a continuation of that system. I'm starting to think that I got 3 massive veins running northwest to southeast across this hill. And I think that quartz is why the glacier had such a hard time scraping this hill, because it's harder than the surrounding phyllites and pelitic schists and the other meta sediments that make up this hill. Now that's not part of this hill. That's part here by a glacier. That's from a mile or two away, judging by its size and how worn that is. It lost its top. That just broke off over time and slid down. That's how you read the land, though. And this is very steep. This is the down ice side of the glacier. So that's why it's very interesting to look here, because all that runoff water came down this side too and washed away the rubble. So after showing you that piece of quartz, here's that other piece I was showing on the ground. And why it's so important to talk about this is, see how that root's right there? A lot of this quartz is broken up over time because not only the glacier loosen it and the weather here breaks it up, but the trees then get in there and start forcing it apart. And this is when you get this kind of beautiful thing. That's mostly quartz, dirty quartz. Dirty quartz is a good thing if you're looking for those precious metals and gemstones. So I'm starting to explore down the side of the slope here. And again, looking at this tree, broken quartz, it's just all over this hillside. Yeah. This is very interesting stuff. I should wash this stuff up. I'll take a few of these samples back to the house. Now, I just walked from over there over to here and noticed the bedrock tree growing out of it. Very cool. But the glistening over here caught my eye. More quartz, of course. The trees, again, breaking it up out of the ground. And this is what we're looking like here. This is much larger grained quartz. I even dare say we got smokies in here, manganese in here, maybe not manganese, molybdenite maybe. I'm looking at this black, and this has been outside. If it's still black like that being outside, it's suspect as a base metal that doesn't react very well to the outside world. But those are bigger crystals in there. What else is in here? What else is in this pocket? I'm thinking that this might have just been a piece of float that rolled off the top of the hill here. So here's a close-up on that piece of quartz I found here by the base of this tree. And the reason why this mineral intrusion is so important to the quartz is that's how you start getting different types of minerals and gemstones. Not that that's created any, but it's that kind of environment, large grain structures, pockets and voids where you get that gemstone creation. There's room for the rock to grow in it, it'll grow. See how that's a bigger quartz crystal there? Plenty of room in there to grow. That's part of the theory. It worked there, but bull quartz isn't worth very much. Not to most people. Let's keep looking. So I'm just on the other side of that tree where I found the quartz at the base. And if you noticed, that bedrock is heavily laminated, like a slate, as a true phyllite would be. And I've noticed that maybe in that break, there's some more quartz float, very small quartz float hanging out in here. Just maybe there is a quartz vein hiding. Let's see. So, in that hole there, on that rock I was just down below of, I pulled out this massive piece of phyllite and slate, and we got some quartz intrusions, feldspar intrusions, even a small little vug there. So, the quartz touched this rock on the bottom side. I just need to dig a little deeper. And in that same hole, this came out of it. Get that under the light a little bit better. I'll get a close-up camera on that nice piece of dirty quartz. So there is a quartz vein underneath there. So I'm gonna go down that hill now to the seasonal brook bed and see if I can't find more of that double pseudomorph I was telling you about earlier. So here's that close-up on that quartz I just pulled out of the ground, the second piece. The other one was just a piece of slate with the little quartz on the bottom of it, but this is a solid vein of it. Came right out of the ground, piecemeal. The roots and the ice have been doing their job to break that apart over time. Let's get a close-up on this. Yeah, it's too close. There we go. That's what we're looking at for mineralization. I have to take this back to the house and do a little more assaying to figure out what we got for mineralization, and I'll definitely report in as soon as I know. All right, so I'm coming down the southeast side of the hill, where in episode 1 we talked about building the first test trench or test pits, or possible adit, where we're finding all that float. This is that spot here. We've made it from the other side of the hill and came onto it, and that's that spot where we're finding all that quartz float, which makes a lot more sense now that we know there's a bunch of quartz veins broken up by the glaciers and the trees and the ice up there. So that means the brook's just right over here. So that's our ultimate goal for this episode, to go find more of that double pseudomorph material. All right, so we're coming downhill toward the seasonal brook. It's out there in the distance. But this is the up ice, up quartz, if you will, vein part of the hill. And I believe that's why this hill is so tall, because this is where the quartz is. It's where the quartz does its thing. What kept this the bedrock from shifting, because the quartz kind of acted like an anchor in the earth when that mile of glacier slid over the top of it. Think about how much weight that is, guys. A mile of ice. That's what we're dealing with, that made all these things move down here. I have a rock face. I love rock faces. I haven't seen this before. What do we got here? We got a really cool looking tree. Look at that thing. What is that? I don't know what that is right now. I want to say it's a spruce. But what's in this bedrock? What does this bedrock tell us? Well, the trees growing in it. That's one example of how nature helps us break up the bedrock. There's lots of shale here, bits and pieces from this bedrock. Gotta be careful though, sinking right into the ground here. Gotta be careful, the footing isn't guaranteed in these kinds of areas. But I don't see any quartz jumping out, but that doesn't mean if I don't, dig up some of this face out of that debris, it wouldn't reveal itself. Let's keep going though. So here we are in the seasonal brook bed. Here's a piece of quartz. There's plenty of quartz float in this. There's that piece of bedrock over there. There's uphill, up ice, up everything, up quartz. We'll make our way to this brook bed to see if it tells us anything, if we find any more of that pseudomorph I'm looking for. Now the bedrock is literally right here. You can see it. Runs right over that. Should scrape that for gold flakes, maybe. Maybe. There's a piece of quartz coming out of the ground right there. There's a good chance that there's another piece of quartz right up there. So this is like one of the veins is definitely coming out right here from uphill. Multiple vein system for sure. So I was just right there pulling the quartz out of the brook. And there's some more mineralization right here in the bedrock. You can see that sticking part out of the slate. What you can see There's a solid piece of bedrock there. Trying to move my shadow out of the way. See how the bedrock goes from like a solid homogeneous to like a lined linear pellite or slate. So it's got a solid material and then slaty material. This area was baked. That could be a skarn. I could be sitting on a skarn. That explains the hydrothermal activity out the wazoo on this hill. And I really wonder what the significance is of a heavily baked skarn and hydrothermal system is on a localized inselberg like this. We'll find out together though, for sure. So I am further up that dry brook bed, and then I keep finding iron bearing rock. Gossan. That's iron. I bet that's mostly iron. I put a magnet on that. There's a little quartz in there. Quartz and iron. That's perfect sign for a mineralized vein. This is all that float for that there, and then that goes into there where those quartz veins are further up where I showed you last episode. But that double pseudomorph should be right in this little patch here somewhere, so I'm looking hard. Now this section here must be an even more specialized zone because the quartz is getting dirtier, the iron is getting thicker, the migmatites are getting more consistent and more frequent. I found this thing. See if we can get into light. I'll put the close-up camera on this in a second, but you guys see all that shininess growing there? That's not a slug trail. That's actually won't rub off dry mineralization doing that crazy reflection. That's some better light on there. But it's got this mineralized vein. That looks like it's wet, but it's not. It's dry. It's got this very interesting sheen about it. Check it out a little closer up. Does anyone know what that is? I'm not 100% sure. That's peacocking. Could be chalcopyrite, which is an ore of copper, but could be equally something else. Open to suggestions. All right, so we're back at that original spot from the previous episode. This is where I found the double pseudomorph, so I'm going to look pretty hard in the next 20 feet, 30 feet. And that's the direction I just came from. Got quartz, lots of dirty quartz. We literally have bedrock changing directions right in front of our eyes. From this guy running, let's say northwest to southwest, to southeast. And then the bedrock drastically changes. If you remember looking down here, the bedrock was in a slightly different orientation. It's subtle. I believe the Acadian orogeny had two major foliation events which moved the bedrock in different directions. And then there's the Allegheny orogeny, which another mountain building event that created a third foliation. That's why we have three foliations on this particular hill. Here's a better angle. So you have that bedrock going in that northwest southeast orientation here, as you can see right there. Right? I'll come over here where we got quartz in situ. Let me just get out of my own way. Right here, this is bedrock, and this is running in this direction up the hill this way, in a T-intersect almost with this one. So that's what I was talking about, different foliations going on here, different directions on the land itself. So what I'm going to do is I put my hook and loosen this piece up, pull that right out, see what this is doing, see what this piece of quartz looks like. Dirty, yes. Only on the end here, also yes. Heavy mineralization of some sort of base metal here, also yes. That looks like a manganese. I don't think it's tungsten, it's too dark. More quartz down here though. So there's quartz running all over the place. So at the point where the initial quartz veins we identified crossed the seasonal brook here, I keep finding this quartz with this gray black material that's not oxidizing, and I can't help but think that's goethite, but more likely hematite along those quartz veins. So what does that mean? That means there's a lot of iron coming along with the quartz, and they go hand in hand. This entire Inselberg of quartz is probably been created because of that iron down below. Again, remembering this was under the earth 350 million years ago, quite a distance before it was foliated upwards like this. So this was all under the ground at some point. But this is an interesting sign. I hope I can find more hematite, because I'd like to smelt that actually. Really would. But also I wonder if we could find gold and silver in these. Interesting. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if I was looking for gold, these weathered pieces in the old brook will not usually bear any gold color unless it's trapped within the rock and I break it open and see flakes within it or flecks within it. So I'm in the double pseudomorph zone, which is quartz and iron rich, and I find this ferruginous boxwood quartz with like a gray mineralization. Reminds me a lot of like a manganese, almost a tungsten alloy, but it's not. It's something that really has an affinity for iron, because when I rub it off, I get an orange smear when I get it wet. So some sort of alloy of iron. Now, if that was exposed to the air all this time, it can't be iron because it would have all rusted. Only some of that rusted. So I'm not sure what's protecting that iron. There could be a few base metals doing that. So I found this piece of dirty quartz and host rock in the seasonal brook bed. Oop, that's some better light on there. But it's got this mineralized vein. That looks like it's wet, but it's not. It's dry. It's got this very interesting sheen about it. Check it out a little closer up. Does anyone know what that is? I'm not 100% sure. That's peacocking. Could be chalcopyrite, which is an ore of copper, but could be equally something else. Open to suggestions. So here's that double pseudomorph I was telling you all about. There's obviously a gaussian on here. We got a little bit of silica or quartz intrusion here, and all these crystals everywhere. Now these crystals are very interesting. It's pyrolusite that replaced manganite. Then it was silicified by that quartz intrusion. So it's a silicified double pseudomorph, making this extremely rare. Manganite is an oxide of manganese. So what happened was the silica went into the shells of the pyrolusite and made these all transparent. Every one of these crystals you can shine light behind, and it's translucent amber. But it's still pyrolusite, because when you scratch it on the porcelain, it's still black. All right, so heading back down the other side of the Inselberg, or the Quartz Hill, if we call it. I still have to come up with a name for this, of course. But I have discovered a lot on this trip so far, and I did some thinking. Here's that piece of bedrock I pulled up earlier. But no, I was doing some thinking that shiny vein was specular hematite. Now that I was thinking about all that hematite, gray hematite on the quartz, I think I have specular hematite in that one rock sample I showed you. So what does that mean for my hydrothermal system? Well, that means that Stan doesn't know how to stay on his own path, for one. It means that there's a high chance of other mineralization, like gold, when you have specular hematite like that. So not only do I have a really cool double pseudomorph vein, which I'm trying to hunt down, I think that was partially created because all of that hydrothermal iron action. Well, I hope you guys really liked coming on the adventure with me today. It's always nice to have some company. I still have a lot more prospecting to do to understand what's going on over that Inselberg and where to actually put the adits in, but I definitely know where to put some test trenches for sure now. Still trying to solve a few mysteries, like where those double pseudomorphs are coming from. And there's just a whole lot of discovery to happen here, not just here at this private mine, but also on the other claims on public reserve land. So if you like mining, you like blacksmithing, you like learning about these things, about the earth, and going on these adventures, consider supporting us by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for educational opportunities, you can go to the website in the description on this video, or you can go to the pages, the channel's description, and where we will have a website there. Also, if you're looking to buy any of these samples that I pick up, I don't crush them all. I save them, I sell them, I give them a Geologic Provenance card, and I sell them on my personal Etsy store. So I'll put that link in there as well. So again, thanks for joining me, and until next time, take care.